Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in this great, grand, and glorious world. Welcome to the Awakened Mother podcast. We are here to empower mothers and women to awaken their soul-led power, heal generational wounds, and rise in truth. This is for mothers, change makers, and spiritual seekers ready to end self-sabotage, embody soul sovereignty, and create lives rooted in truth, purpose, and divine feminine power. I am so delighted today to share with you a really wonderful woman that I had the honor and pleasure of meeting, Mollie Engelhart, several years ago. I'm so inspired by her. She lives by this inner faith and courage, and she wrote a fabulous book called Debunked by Nature. So we're going to have a deep dive conversation about her book, about motherhood, about womanhood, sisterhood, nature, regenerative farming. Let me tell you a little bit about her. Mollie was executive chef and founder of Sage Plant-based bistro and brewery in Los Angeles. She was raised vegan on a small farm in upstate New York with dirt in between her toes and pulling carrots from the ground. And her upbringing inspired a love for gardening, foodscaping, and cooking from scratch. After years of great success in the restaurant industry, Mollie and her husband, Elias, decided to take their commitment a step further, and they started an organic regenerative farm in Fillmore, California called Sow a Heart, which led to her becoming a rancher in Texas on a beautiful land called Sovereignty Ranch, which has food and events, and it has glamping. It's remarkable. She is remarkable. So put your hands together, your virtual hands together, and help me welcome Mollie to the stage. Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me back. I'm honored to be here.
It is my pleasure. I just, I loved your book. You write so conversationally that I felt like we were having a conversation and you were just like, you pulled up a chair, coffee or tea, whatever is your thing. And we were just chatting. And
It's funny you say that because I'm actually really learning disabled in reading and writing. And so I talk to text most of this book into my tablet and then edited it from there. And I did it from 4 a.m. till 6 a.m. over a 6 or 8 week period. And I got up at 4 a.m. I'd get my coffee and I'd get into my comfy breastfeeding chair. And I would sit there. It was the only time that I wouldn't have my kids. And because I'm not that good at typing and I had to do the talk to text and then edit it from there, I needed quiet to be able to get all of my thoughts into the thing. And then I could rearrange them after that. And so what's interesting is I talked most of this book into a tablet and then rearranged it from there. And so it sounds conversational because it literally was me talking to myself.
I love that. Wow, that's beautiful. Well, as I was saying to you before we got on camera, I love how you dedicate this book not only to Elias, but to Mimi, and just the way that you share the trajectory of your childhood into young professional, going from, how old were you when you got into the music industry and then opened your own recording studio?
22.
22, right? And then you became a purveyor or a vendor of marijuana. And
I grew marijuana for a good 7 years more.
And you had a very successful industry happening.
I did. California was like on the forefront of the legalized marijuana movement. And when it was in the gray, there was an opportunity to make money. And I definitely did. I wish that I had known to like buy Bitcoin instead of real estate, but I bought real estate because that's what they told you to do, and then lost it all in 2008. But anyway, life, there's ups and there's downs, and restarting and recreating and reshaping your life. And
and you certainly demonstrate that. And what I appreciated so much about this book is you really, first of all, you're really honest about your experience, and you share how you yourself, there was this arc of transformation from like, I used to go to Sage with friends, and it was wonderful. And I loved Kind Cream. I loved it. And
I
so,
love it too.
Yeah, I bet.
Me and Mimi started that. That was like the beginning of my culinary journey, was the ice cream shop. And me and my best friend started that. And then we quickly realized we couldn't just have vegan ice cream. It wasn't a broad enough audience. We had to expand on what we were offering.
Yeah. And then was it Tim and Trevor, or was that the
Tim and Trevor was my first husband and his brother, and we grew marijuana together for a lot of years.
Right.
And Trevor went to prison for marijuana, and I had to stop growing marijuana when he was getting out, because even though I had divorced his husband, his brother, I had agreed to take him. Trevor still lives with me and his wife. They live here on Sovereignty Ranch. I always joke that I divorced him, but I kept Trevor because he's still here with me.
That is so incredible, because if I remember correctly, and please correct me if I'm mistaken, but you have 4 children, but you adopted one, a young man.
I have 4 biological children, and then Osmar. We took custody of him in 2022, I want to say, or 21, somewhere in there. We took guardianship of him. He came as an unaccompanied minor, was reunited with his parents, and then during COVID, started coming to volunteer days at the farm, and ended up moving into my house. And we ended up taking custody of him or guardianship of him at some point during his high school career.
It's phenomenal. And it reminds me of, in the beginning of the book, you talked about how your parents you had another, I think it was your aunt and uncle.
Yeah, my mother and her twin sister married my father and his brother. So it was twins marrying brothers. My uncle Scott still also lives with me. I keep people around for a long time. My mom's twin's husband, who they're not married anymore, lives here on the ranch with us as well.
Remarkable. Just, it's so beautiful to me. I mean, aside from your book, which I want to talk about, how do you navigate all those different personalities? How do you,
it's the hardest part of life. It's the hardest part of life. Literally, human beings are the hardest part of life. And I don't have it figured out. I mean, there's upsets and breakdowns and emotional, and I'm very much like a go, go, go. I grew up in this hippie family, and there's like a lot of emotional workshopping and whatever. And I'm like, kind of like, I was just telling someone the other day, I literally prefer the like passive aggressive, but to the person who's like needs to workshop every single thing. And my brother was like, well, can we have something in the middle? And I was like, yes, I'm just saying, if I had to choose one of the extremes. But so I don't have the answer. That's literally, we have community meetings once a week. People express themselves. Sometimes there's crying. Some people won't even show up to the community meetings because that's too woo-woo. It's literally the trick to community and navigating people's personalities is to continue to see people's value. In every moment, I can see what someone is doing wrong for sure. This is annoying. This, they broke this. But we can also see what is going right. And so I could use my husband as a great example. I talk about this a lot is my husband is culturally very different than me. We don't have a lot in common. The way he communicates, the way he does things, so could be offensive to the Western society, normal culture that we're in. Like yesterday, he said, "Could you just be a normal wife and shut up and listen?" And now, like somebody go, "I can't believe." I put on posts on Instagram before where I talk about giving space to your husband's wounds and be the space for him to get upset and not respond with upset in response to his upset, because then you're just wound on wound. And people will be like, "I'm deeply saddened that your husband yelled at you." And I'm like, "Oh, get over yourselves." But my husband culturally is different. He might yell too much. He has a quick temper, blah, blah, blah. But he's an awesome father. He plays with our children every day. He reminds me to take more time to be with our children. He does father-daughter day, father-son day. He's, and he goes back and forth to drinking and not drinking. And my request is that he doesn't drink. And sometimes he does that for a long time and sometimes he doesn't. But I could tell you right now, like, my husband swears and he yells and he drinks too much and he has a fast temper and he told me to shut up and be a normal wife yesterday. And you would be like, "Oh my God, your husband is so terrible." Or I could tell you, like, my husband wrestled with my kids for 2 hours last night and he puts the baby to bed every night right now because I'm trying to wean my 2.5-year-old. And so he goes in the other room and puts her to bed so that she can be away from me to try to, get him to do that. He takes the kids out to ice cream. He takes the kids to the farmer's market. He takes the kids on horseback riding. I could tell you all of those things and you'd be like, "Oh my God, you hit the jackpot. And that's the best husband ever." Well, right. Both are true. Like, I hit the jackpot and I have the best husband ever. And he drinks too much sometimes and he argues with me and he's got a short temper and he's very Latino and machismo in some of his views of the world. Both of those things are true. And so when we're living in community, it's got to be like that with everybody. And so I could look at people that break things too much or do this or do that. They just left this thing on the grill. We just cleaned the grill. And why did they leave it? But on the other side, you have to see what people are contributing. You have to see what people are bringing. And you have to keep your mind focused on what people are bringing and what is the benefit, what works, because otherwise you start getting on the what's not working and your mind will just keep, it gets snowballing and snowballing and snowballing. And so, and I notice it when I'm mad at my husband or mad at my uncle or mad at anybody. It's like, I see that and then I'm annoyed about this. And then they left the beer can here and and so it's really important to stay focused on the positive because that creates the same kind of snowball effect. Like, "Oh my God, they're so great. My uncle did that whole field and got it ready for my husband to plant the corn. And look, my husband and Cesar are planting the corn in the hot sun. I'm so glad I don't have to do that." And, on and on and on. And so that's the importance, is just to stay focused on what someone is bringing rather than what they're not bringing, because in every relationship, there's positives and negatives. There's nothing that's all perfect and if you are saying that there is, then you're probably not telling the truth.
Yes. Well, thank you. And I hope that everyone listening really gleaned what Mollie was saying in terms of being in relationship, because it's two people and you're navigating, because I used to joke, like, with some of my clients when they've like, "Oh, I really want a partner," or they're in a relationship and there's some challenges. And I will jokingly say, "Well, you're not just in relationship with that person. You're in relationship with their parents." Yes. And what their parents experience. So you think it's just the two of you, but I just want to break it to you. There's like 4 people in the room.
All the time I'll say, "Well, in my house growing up," and if I even start that sentence, my husband's like, "Oh, so your way is better." And like, literally, I want to say, like, "No, I don't think my way is better," but no, actually I do. I think my way, I actually think that talking about it is better than walking out of the room, slamming the door and coming back and pretending that everything is normal. So yes, I do think my way is better, but I have to honor that I grew up in a house where we had family meetings and talked out our feelings. And he grew up in a house where, like, his mother never spoke back to his father ever. So you got to get, like, how far our worlds are apart and how amazing and basically miraculous that we're still married after 13 years, but that's because we're both committed to getting back to love. It doesn't mean we don't get upset. It doesn't mean we're not frustrated sometimes, but how do we get back to love?
I love that. I remember you're talking about, and you talk about it in the book too, but I remember when you were on the summit that I did, and you talked about Elias and how you made a choice, you made a decision, because people were, whispering in your ear and saying all sorts of things. And you made a decision that you wanted to be with him. And then in your book, you were at Sage, I think it was Sage, and you were in the back, and I think you were lamenting about something. And one of the people that worked with you at Sage, right? It was at Sage. They turned around, they looked at you, and they said, what have you got to offer somebody? You don't have anything to offer them. And you had this moment where you were like, I'm this successful restaurateur. What do you mean? And chef, what do you mean I don't have anything to offer them? And then it stung, and you started to think about what do I have to offer them?
Yeah, Pablo said that to me. And I was so offended that he said it in the moment. And I wasn't with Elias yet. And I was talking about this guy that I was breaking up with, and how blah, 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 and how I want a guy that's da, 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 da. And he said, well, what do you have to offer that man? You have nothing to offer. And I thought I was the craziest. This is someone that liked me. I felt like he worked with me for years. He worked until Sage closed. He still works for my brother. I thought, what do you mean I have nothing to offer? And from his perspective, a wife's purpose is to bear children, be at home, keep the house, take care of the children, make food for him when you get home. And I was at work till 10:30 every night. I got to work early in the morning. I left late at night. I literally only was ever home to sleep. I was successful. Could work as hard as any man could. But is that really my divine purpose, to work as hard as any man could? And it's not that I've stopped. Like, I'm very driven. I'm going to keep being very driven, but I've had to figure out, how do I integrate my family? How do I work where my family is? And so that I can do both. And there is no way to, and this is, women hate when I say this, but you can't do both well. You can't be a great entrepreneur, boss, babe, bad bitch, whatever. Like, you can't do all of that and be a great mom. So I am always trading off either being a good mother or being a good entrepreneur, a good partner, a good in the realm of business. And so we can't do them both. We're not designed to do them both. I strapped babies on at 5 days after birth and went back to inspections and for getting the brewery open. And looking back, what was I trying to prove? That I could work as hard as a man can work with a baby strapped to me while still bleeding postpartum? Like, a man can't even have a baby. So that's not even a thing. He's never going to do that. And so whatever that was in my mind that felt like I couldn't even let myself rest, that's crazy.
Well, for those that are listening to this that are like, I have more to do in the world than just be pregnant and in the kitchen, read this book, because in the chapter that you talk about how you move, you mentioned a couple of things, and you talked about how you went to Texas and you were in the car or in the truck and you're driving and you're seeing like signs on the road for Trump and certain things. And Elias.
This was in California. This was earlier. This was
this was in Fillmore,
in California. And I'm driving down the street and everybody has a Trump sign in their driveway.
Right. And you were like, my husband and my children are brown skin.
Like, I felt like they hated. I had made up, because the TV had told me that Trump voters hated Mexicans, hated undocumented people that had babies here in the United States. And so my husband was currently undocumented. I was pregnant. When Trump got elected, I was pregnant with Luna. And I remember thinking, the whole world hates my baby, or the whole United States. Like I remember thinking that was legitimately my thought. And that's the craziest, farthest from the truth thing that I've ever could imagine.
Yeah.
People that vote for Trump do not hate my children. Like I voted for Trump. I don't know. It's not, not that time, obviously, when I thought what a difference that many years, whatever it was, 8 years makes, that I cried when he was elected that first time and thought the world hates my baby. And then the second time I went and voted for him.
Interesting. So interesting.
Well, I mean, I guess I voted for him twice because he didn't win, right? The one time in the middle.
Oh, right.
So, but to go through that transformation and thinking, I think I didn't vote for him. I think I voted down ballot Republican in Fillmore for local elections, but I still couldn't wrap my head. I think I voted like the independent, the libertarian candidate. I couldn't wrap my head around voting for Trump. That was 4 years. And then 4 years later, after Biden and everything that happened to my restaurants through COVID, I was like, Trump, give me Trump. And so it's interesting. It's an interesting thing to think about too, is like my heart, my soul, that whatever is housed in the skin bag that is my body is the same, right? I still have the same heart. I still love the same. It's just that my perspective is slightly different because context is decisive. So through different contexts, through the context of nature, everything started to change. And so it really is fascinating to think about, like, how does someone go from being vegan, chef, married to an undocumented person? Like, you should have looked up liberal in the Wikipedia, and there I'd be, like, vegan chef, undocumented husband, Californian, driving a hybrid, and that was me. And then how did I go from that to ranching in one of the reddest counties in ranching in one of the reddest counties in Texas, and what's so funny, even more funny, I made up, this is how racist and like backwards, I made up that my husband was liberal because I made up that brown people were liberal because I had been indoctrinated to believe that. And when my husband finally could speak enough English that we could communicate clearly to each other, he laughed at me like, why would you think I was liberal? Like, I'm a Catholic from Mexico.
Oh, that's interesting, because I would think the same,
And I was like, and he was like, I'm not. My husband, when he became an American, voted for Trump the first time.
Wow. It's so, wow.
And voted Republican down ballot. And when he walked out, I made a video for Instagram. And then when he walked out, not when I was recording, he said, I bet those people think I voted Democrat. And I was like, I bet they do. You have long hair, and you're brown. You must be voting. And then come to find out, most Mexicans that are not first generation, that immigrated here, are very conservative. They all come from small indigenous villages, Catholic backgrounds. So I just started going through, wait, you don't believe in abortion? No, of course I don't believe in abortion. And these are like, I'm like blowing my mind. Like, how did I marry someone who doesn't agree with anything I agree with? That's crazy. And he's like, I don't even really agree with women working. I'm like, what? You married me? He's like, well, you were pregnant, and my dad taught me not to leave my kids. And so, I mean, my husband means it when he says, I wish you could just be a regular wife. I mean, he literally does wish that, but I am in a lot of ways the breadwinner, the driving force. And so he always jokes we have to move to Mexico for that. And I'm like, well, that'll be plan C or D.
Well, I loved in the chapter where you spoke about the the reckoning that you had in terms of roles. And it was when you were talking about masculinity, and you spoke about how you always, you were living this life in LA, and then you and Elias got together, and then you moved to Texas, and the storm happened. And I think you were really, really pregnant.
Yes.
And so he had to be in the field. He had to be with the other men on the ranch, protecting the land. And it was like this awareness for you about how, you're doing what you're doing to keep the baby safe and to make sure the home is okay. And I know that those that are listening may not agree with, what you're hearing today. And that's so okay, because we get to talk about it, right?
Yeah.
We're having kind of a family meeting without a family meeting. And so you had this awareness of like, oh my gosh, of course we need the men in the field, because the women can't do that.
In times of crisis, nobody's ever said, I wish that there was only men and women and children here. I wish this was a safe space with no men. Like nobody's ever said that, ever. And I bet if you were God's recording camera somewhere, there is me somewhere a long time ago saying some nonsense about how we don't need men. Are men really that important? We could have men could be like a bull. You need one for every 40 women just to right? I'm sure that I said stuff like that in my youth. I literally even can remember having the mantra in my head, like, I can do anything, he can do better. I really just believed that women were smarter and could do things better. And that idea had me get divorced the first time, and would have had me get divorced a second and a third and a fourth time. And my husband even sometimes says to me, like, your feminism is really loud today. And I'll say, okay. Or sometimes I'll say, no, it's not. Like literally I'm protecting our children. Like I'm disagreeing with whatever. And I feel like I'm protecting children. Or I'll say, sometimes it is. It's just like, I don't want him to tell me what to do. I don't want, like, sometimes it is my feminism is loud that day. And that's still there. I'm not saying that we shouldn't protect ourselves or let ourselves be stomped on, but that happened actually in California. We had 18 inches of water in a very short period of time, and the entire farm was underwater. 18 inches of water, 150 chickens were drowned, animals were killed, damage, massive damage, flood damage. And at a certain point, I was out, I was pregnant, I was out, I had a stick, I had my raincoat. And at a certain point, it was like, there's actually nothing else for me to do outside. And I've got the animals, I could get to high ground. I've done this, I've done that. And I'm putting myself and my baby at risk with water this high everywhere. I'm going to go inside. I'm going to make some beef stew. I'm going to make some bread. I'm going to get a fire going. I'm going to start drying out people's clothes that are like, people have changed multiple times because they're so wet. I'm going to start drying clothes. And, we knew nobody was going to be able to leave. So whatever farm workers had come in the morning cannot leave. The road was washed out. The bridge was washed out. And so I was like, let me just get ready for what the men are going to need when they come inside. And I had this, and I had this new assistant that day, and she like reacted to my husband yelling. My husband said, "Cállate, cabrona," which is like, calm down, strong lady, kind of is, I guess. Cabron is like a strong man, and cabrona is kind of a slang female version of that word. And she was like, toxic masculinity much, but literally he was trying to move a tractor in front of the propane tank so we could still take hot showers that night, and I could bathe the children and all of this stuff. And instead of seeing what he was doing, I was worried that he was banging into my mulberry tree. He was scraping, like reversing into my mulberry tree to wedge the tractor between the tree and the propane tank so it wouldn't float down the street. And so I was upset that he was making that tree get really damaged because he had to wedge the tractor in. and he had a plan, and he was using that tree as part of the solution to the propane tank wanting to float down the road. And so he said, "Cállate, cabrona." And then I don't get triggered by that, like, from my husband. And so I was like, walked inside, and she was like, "Toxic masculinity much?" And I remember, and I thought at that moment, it clicked in my head, like, wow, like, how terrible would it be if it was just like me and her and this other girl, Nicole, that works for me, and we were just here by myself. Literally, I was in a bath. I was at home. I was pregnant. And I called my husband to come home from work. I said, "Something bad is happening. I need you to come." Called my brother, called my best friend, Trevor, my brother-in-law, the one that has never left. And so all of that is happening. They're all coming. And imagine if it was just me and Nicole, and that girl only lasted a couple of weeks. So that's like, Christina, I think her name was. But I thought to myself, what if it was just us here and the kids and Lupe, the nanny? Like, that would be terrible. Like, we wouldn't be able to do anything. And even before my husband got home, my neighbor Levi came over, was trying to help with my husband's tractor to unclog this thing that was making this other thing flood. And I just had this realization, like, we need men. And this is a crazy idea that is in our culture pretty pervasively, that we don't need men, that men are not that important, that masculinity is something to be feared or scared of. And I just wrote more extensively about this because we just had these massive floods in Kerr County, where I live in Texas. It was all over the news. Those 21 girls died at Mystic Camp Mystic.
Malaya.
Yeah, Malaya is friends with Mickey and all of them. Yes, exactly. So there's been all these men coming in from Oklahoma, from Omaha, from Florida, from everywhere, coming to search for bodies. And we put up a lot of these men. And I wrote about this for Epoch Times a couple weeks ago, I guess now, about in times of tragedy, in times of emergency, the masculine is so necessary. But we can't just like relegate it to somewhere and then expect that it's going to rise up and take care of us in the time when it's necessary. We actually need there to be space for the masculine in the everyday life, so that it knows it fits, and it knows it belongs, and it knows that it needs to protect us.
Yes. Wow. That's such a powerful learning. And it's such a, you talked in the book, you talked about balance. And, I always think balance is a double-edged kind of thing, because I don't know if there's always balance. I mean, we have yin and yang, and we have, the sun and the moon, and we have all these different examples of kind of natural balance. And when I hear you talk about that, it reminds me of the natural balance of things. And then there's, this, as you're talking, I was also, you moved from being a vegan into eating meat, and you got so much pushback, but so much pushback. And you also spoke about death. And so will you speak a little bit about the transformation for you around the death, which seemed to be part of your awareness that eating meat wasn't a sin. It wasn't a sin, a transgression, that it was part of the life cycle. It was really beautiful the way you wrote about that.
Yeah, I mean, it really came from farming and being on the farm and seeing all the ways that life transpires. And I had this imaginary fantasy idea that the farm would be this beautiful vegan farm and nothing would ever die. And it would be this amazing, regenerative thing that happened, and nobody would ever die. And like, it was an illusion, and that is not possible. And, I started to look into the fertilizer, and it's all comes out of the death system. And what I realized is it's really about how we have reverence for life and how we interact with it. And life and death are two sides of the same coin. Death is not a failure. It's a function of life.
Yes, I love that quote.
Every one of us that is alive is eating of death, is living a life of death that's on the top of death, whether it's the trees in your house, Whether it's the trees that are in your house, whether it's the blood meal that was on your organic broccoli, or the squirrels that were killed for your avocado toast, whatever it is, your life is on the backs of death, and death is going to happen. And we cannot, just by saying, I'm not going to eat XYZ, cause less death. But we can say, by eating this way, the small farm diet, the local diet, we can say the animals that die for me and my food will be killed with reverence and love, and it will be in the sacred circle of life. We can say that. And that is the difference. And so what I realize is that it's not for me to ixnay things off of my plate. It's for me to say, I only want to eat of these different things. And because I want to eat of these things, which is respect, love, harmony, ecosystem, then I want to try to eat that way. And it's not about a line that puts dairy and meat on one side and on the other side is vegetables, because I recognize in farming there's death in everything.
That's amazing. I mean, I just have to issue a disclaimer. I'm so not a farmer, at least at this point, but I'm so inspired by farmers. Like, I had the opportunity to meet Gabe Brown and have him on this. I did a 3-part series about regenerative agriculture and farming, and I admire you for being close to the earth, and especially the trajectory that you have been on to be this person that, you were describing, in terms of, the definition, California progressive and all of this, and then to be, farmer in Texas, and the way that you have chosen to live your life and raise your children is really extraordinary. And when you sat down to write this book, was there something that moved you to write this book? Like, was it all of a sudden you were seeing lots, or the people were giving you pushback? Like when you went from, being vegan and, all of a sudden to now you're eating meat and you're encouraging people to consider that there's another alternative perspective. What prompted you to write the book?
Well, it's interesting. I did this podcast for Acres, which is a farmer publisher. They do a lot of farmers' books. They did all of Joel Salatin's books. They are the largest ecological farming, publisher that there is. They have the largest ecological farming conference every year in Wisconsin in December. And I did their podcast, and I guess there's a girl, Maddie, inside of their company that was a big fan of mine on Instagram. And they asked if I would be interested in writing a book. And I thought, maybe. I haven't. And then I got another email from Chelsea Green, which is like a eco-friendly, more kind of on the left eco publisher, also asking me to write a book. And so I wrote an outline of 7 chapters and I sent it to both of them. And the Chelsea Green was like, well, we work a lot with Acres, and they, we wouldn't want to touch. There was some things in the book they wouldn't want to touch. In the first 7 chapters that I sent, they said, we want you to focus more on immigration and da-da-da. And Acres just said, looks great, send us the book. And so I went with Acres, and I just got up every morning, like I said, from 6 in the morning till 4, or from 4 to 6 in the morning every morning, and just wrote the book in the dark, talking into my phone or into an iPad, and then editing it from there.
That's amazing. And you wrote the book in 3 months? 2 months?
In like 6 weeks, and then another 2.5 weeks. Another 2 months with the publisher, back and forth. And originally it was like 15 chapters, and they added some. They made a request, like they felt like we needed to tell the story of moving to Texas. They felt like I should speak on immigration, and I had largely not spoke on immigration because I wasn't quite sure how I could frame it inside of the natural conversation that I was having, because I was thinking about butterflies and migratory animals. And then I was talking to my dad about it, and he was like, just start with that. Start with like, I didn't know how to have this conversation because of this, but then look at this, this, and this. And so I did add that. And so I wrote the first 14 chapters, which I thought was the book done. And then the publisher editor started working on it, and then they made requests like, hey, can you write a chapter about this? We think we need this chapter. We feel like we need a growing up chapter. And so, because I really had just taken these ideas that were in our culture that I didn't think make sense in nature and made those chapters. And so then they had me add in some other chapters for more context and make it a little bit more of an autobiography. So that's how we got to whatever it is, 19 chapters now. So yeah, it was in about 6 weeks, just me, and then another 2 months with the editor back and forth. And now it's getting printed and it's on pre-order. Now you can pre-order, I think you can pre-order only the Audible on Amazon right now, not the Audible, the Kindle on Amazon right now, and on Acres website or on my website, there's a link to the pre-order if you want the book, and it's $5 off if you order it right now. And then it'll be out on September 25th of this year.
Fantastic. So do you want to say anything about immigration?
Yeah. Both sides of the aisle, if there was imaginary two sides of the aisle, they're both on the same side of the aisle being funded by the same people, and they're going to get to the same outcomes. Either way, it's like Trump's going to use immigration to get a digital ID and and Biden's going to use COVID to get a digital ID and It's like all the same outcomes are coming using different excuses. So there's no two sides of the aisle. But anyways, both sides of the aisle have it wrong, in my opinion, when it comes to immigration, because the Democrats are screaming the wall is racist, that there's a humanitarian crisis, that it's not fair, and all of that. And then the Republicans are saying, build the wall. We don't need the labor, kick everybody out, just round them all up and throw them out. Both of those are great for creating division and hyperbole and having us other each other and hate each other. The reality is there is a humanitarian crisis, but it's not what the Democrats are speaking to. The humanitarian crisis is that the wall is secured. The border is secured by the cartels. The cartels charge every single person that crosses. They rape, they murder, they make people pack drugs, they do indentured servitude and so many other things. So if you think that the wall or to secure the border is racist, do you think the Mexican cartels are racist? And why are you not fighting against them? Because that's who has the border secured right now. So my first thing is that I don't believe that a wall is racist or a secure border is racist. Every country in the world has the right to secure their borders. That is not racism. And then the next thing I want to say is that the humanitarian crisis is what's happening to people on that journey, on that trek, coming across what's happening to them. So if Democrats want to talk humanitarian crisis, then we need to have a pathway that makes sense. And I just want to be clear that both Democrats and Republicans have had both Congresses and a president, and neither one has done anything to fix these situations. So I just want to put that out there. And Trump was trying to give a pathway to citizenship, or at least to green cards for DACA, but he wanted funding for the wall. And the Democrats voted against it. So that was ridiculous because a wall is fine. It's fine to secure the border. And then on the Democratic side, this idea that we don't need the labor or that it makes no difference in your life if there was no labor is crazy, because all of our food is not all of our food, a good 85% of our food is harvested by migrant workers, undocumented workers, illegal workers, like however you want to say it, that you feel like you're virtue signaling, whether it's to Republicans, you're going to say illegals. So you're virtue signaling that you think it's wrong, or you're going to be like undocumented. And so you're virtue signaling that you think it's okay. Either way, the labor is necessary. So someone that I've worked in farming, I work in restaurants, hospitality, there is a labor shortage. So we need the labor. We also need to secure the border. And so I feel like we need a radical center right here. We need to come together and be radically centrist. We need to acknowledge that there's a labor shortage. We need to acknowledge that we have raised a generation of weak people that are not good at working. And like, we have to be honest about that. And
why do you think that is?
It's too comfortable here. Everything in life is better under pressure. Your bones are better under pressure. Your muscles are better under pressure. Muscles go under pressure, then your cells and the mitochondria wakes up. The carburetors of your cells start acting in the way that they should. Your bones are under pressure. You grow new bone. Like, I almost lost this tooth when I was 20 something years old. And the first dentist told me, you're going to have to take out the tooth and it got periodontal disease. And you're going to have to, I was like 23 years old. I'm going to have a fake tooth for the rest of my life. I went to another dentist and they said, you can get braces. We're going to they took out a tooth over here. We removed all my teeth around and I grew new bone under the pressure of braces. So from between 24 and 31, I wore braces and we rearranged my mouth. And may I still lose that tooth someday because of the periodontal disease? Maybe, yeah. But I'm now 47 and I was going to lose it at 23. So we have already gained lots of years for that tooth, right? For 45 or 35, 25 years for that tooth is 25 years that I have my full mouth intact, right?
That's amazing.
And so under pressure, we thrive. And we live in a society where discomfort is been rebranded as dangerous. You are in college and there's going to be a trigger warning. We're going to talk about this and it might make you uncomfortable. So if you don't want to come, you don't have to come. Well, like, what happens to muscles that are never under pressure? What happens to bones that are never under pressure? What happens to a body that sits all day and doesn't stand up every hour to make their body be under pressure? Then what happens to a mind that is not under pressure to thrive, to survive, to get by? What happens is you will find the most mundane things to be upset about because we need to get over something. And so if we cannot get over a real problem, like feeding ourselves, like building something, like taking care of our children, but we live in a society where people are not having children, where people are not building anything, where people do not have a job that requires really hard things. You may just be tapping keys on a keyboard all day or trading stocks on your phone or buying Bitcoin and waiting. I don't know, but you're not under pressure. And so we have created weak people. And there's that saying, like, strong men create good times create weak men create bad times. We're moving into that. Strong men created good times, like after the Great Depression and and all this stuff. And then we've had so much comfort, so much abundance. And even we printed money out of nowhere and blah, blah, blah. And the bad parts about that, we've had massive abundance. Like, let me give you an example. My nanny's mother came to visit her and she hadn't seen her in 24 years. And so we've like digressed from immigration. But another thing is that there's all these people stuck here and they haven't seen their family in however many years. And that's a humanitarian crisis as far as I'm concerned as well. But anyways, when this woman came who hadn't seen her daughter in 24 years, she said, "Oh, it's so nice of you to make sure that they have hot water in their house." Wow. And I thought to myself, well, obviously it's like illegal to have someone live in a house here with no hot water, right? Not that I would ever do it if it wasn't illegal anyways, but you know what I mean? Like this is just normal here. And so lots of places around the world, you're taking a cold shower every single day, lots of places. And this is a 80 something year old woman who was like, oh my gosh, it's so nice that you guys have hot water. So and that's just in Mexico, which is not like, it's a developing nation, but it's like well on its way of a developing nation, right? We're not talking about, but like my husband's mother right now, if we go to her house, you have to flush the toilet by scooping water out of a cistern that's filled with water twice a week. And you dump it into the toilet to flush the toilet. You're also going to wash your hands in that same cistern. You're going to drink out of that same cistern, and you're going to do your dishes, scooping buckets of water into different places for that. Now, I don't drink that water because my gut is not set up for that, because I've had too much. My gut has not been under the pressure that water causes. So my gut is not going to be strong enough to be there, even though I have a very strong gut in the American sense of the world. And I never get food poisoning. I've literally only ever gotten food poisoning one time, and it was in Mexico. And I don't think it was food poisoning. I just had that my body had an overload of microbes and bugs that my gut is not used to. And they overloaded my body, microbes and guts. And we had, okay, too much. You guys are too much. Out. You're over. Out. And so, but anyways, I digress very far, but we need the labor. So where I was we need the labor. And so I believe that we should create a 10-year work permit that costs the current price to enter the country through paying the coyotes that are employed by the cartels is between $10,000 and $13,000. So I think we make a $10,000 work permit that lasts 10 years and can be renewed one time. You cannot become an American citizen, even under any circumstances. You could get permanent green card. And this is what person was really upset about in the book. I said, and the reason I'm saying this is because we need a plan that both sides are going to agree on. And if people are concerned about replacement theory and blah, 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 and you can say that's racist. It doesn't matter whether it's racist or not. If people's constituents are concerned about our culture disappearing, and I talk about this in the book because it's not just race. Like it's easy to throw it onto racism, but culture. There is a fire in my gut. Like I am an American and I know that I deserve to be able to say what I want to say. And I want to tell the truth, and I'm going to do it without fear because I believe that, or I did believe until COVID, that we had the right to do that here in America. I'm going to go protest and pull up signs when something is not fair. I'm going to repost and tell people because I believe that we have power to shift what the government is doing. Many other countries do not have that cultural
freedom.
And they may think like, whatever, we should just be quiet and take what's coming at us. And other countries may have different cultural norms around womanhood, different cultural norms about a lot of things that we consider culturally important here in the United States. Mm-hmm. And so when we import people from all different places of the world, we have to understand that we are integrating them into our society. And are they going to integrate into what we all enjoy? Whether you think America is the most racist country on the planet, which you have to be very not well traveled. You've not spent a lot of time around the world if that's what you think. But even if you believe that, you think America is the most racist, everything is fundamentally racist, you have to understand that there is cultural norms that you enjoy that do not exist in many other countries in the world. And if we import people in mass that do not believe these things, we are at real risk of losing some of these norms that we have all grown to believe are important. Freedom of speech, with many women's rights, and depending on what, countries. I mean, my husband basically acts like the government is corrupt and they can kill you if they want to. So you should just be quiet. Stop talking about the cartels. Stop talking about the government. Stop it. Yeah. Because that is the cultural conversation that he's grown up under, right? Of just we navigate.
Right. Well, I mean, the cartels have made no bones about killing people if you do something they don't like.
Right. So so you got to get to, we have to, and then look at, we went around the world. We went around the world to shift many values associated with conservative Muslim values. We went around the world. We spent billions of dollars. We lost tons of our sons and daughters to this war on ideology, essentially. No matter what people want to say the war was about, we were told, I'm sure it was about poppies, I'm sure it was about money, I'm sure it was about all these other things, but we were told we were bringing democracy, we were uplifting women in these countries. But we have, through destabilizing all these places around the world, did we bring our values there, or did we import values that we claimed we had a problem with here? And I'm not like someone to say, well, that sounds anti. I'm actually just asking a question. Like, are we doing what we're saying we're doing? And I don't think it's wrong to say, this is our culture and I don't want it to disappear. Ireland right now, what is the percentage of people in Ireland that are Irish? And what is the percentage of people in Ireland that have immigrated there very recently? Look at the child, like the average Irish person is having the 1.6 children or whatever Western society where we're at, via chemicals, via vasectomies, via abortion, via all the stuff that has us having less children. Other cultures are not doing that. And so we're going to see major shifts in Europe culturally in the next 25 years. And we're also going to see major shifts in the United States. Now, is that racist to say that? No. Is it racist to say that I like the country I grew up in, that I like the culture, that I want this culture to exist for my children? I don't think that's racist, but a lot of people do. And I think that when we're not honest about it's okay to love the country that you're in and want it to be the way that it is, and that of course we should have immigration, of course we should have refugee programs, of course, yes. But there's no reason that they should be completely unchecked and unregulated. And like, no other country does this. I can't just go to Canada with 1,000 mob into Canada. I just can't. Right. So why is it racist for us to say that? This is all part of the globalism agenda. If there's no United States is the last, and we are not free, but it is the last illusion of freedom where we still believe that we are free on the planet. And if we lose that, there is no light. We are the candle in a dark room trying to illuminate it. And if we allow that to be snuffed out, the fundamental fire in our gut of freedom, then that is a travesty for the whole planet. And so I believe in a low skill work permit, and no disrespect. I just mean not like someone who's got a PhD and blah, 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 but like laborers, farm workers, hospitality workers. And I believe it should be a long-term thing that they can go home. They can see their children. They don't have to be stuck here, not seeing their children for 25 years, never going home for Christmas, their father dying on FaceTime. Like, I've seen all of that, and it is heartbreaking. And the Democrats in action and saying it's okay the way that it is what has people stuck here for 25 years and never met their grandchildren or watching their father die on FaceTime. And the Republicans in action and inability to make an understanding that we do need the labor is what has us stuck in this people coming. Because as long as we need the labor, people are going to come. So let's create a pathway that's a revenue source for the government. People pay their taxes. They pay a stipend into Social Security, and they're able to go home. They're able to see their children. They're able to fly home for their father's funeral, have a life that's honest. Like Democrats talk about dignity. Well, let's create a pathway to dignity. There's no dignity in wanting it to stay the same. There's literally no dignity in that. And there's no dignity in pretending we don't need the labor and then being mad at people for coming here for the jobs that we clearly need because we keep giving them jobs.
Yeah. It's a lot.
And this is coming from someone who took guardianship of an unaccompanied minor who married someone who was undocumented, who has a lot of people in this community, undocumented, documented, got papers overtaught, a lot. I'm immersed in this community. And this doesn't work. Neither side's plan works. And so we need something different. We need a better plan. And it has to be compromised. Nobody's going to get everything they want. We have to be willing to compromise in the middle. And so this woman I did her show yesterday, she was so offended that I said that this 10-year permit you could never end up becoming a citizen. And I said, because people are going to say, well, people are going to come here, then they get married, and so this the best that they could do was a permanent resident. If they get married, they can be a permanent resident. They don't vote, but they could get, it's not like we're saying you have to be separated from your children if you get married while you're here. I'm just saying there has to be
compromise. Perhaps there could be a compromise at some point to that. But I think what I'm hearing you say, and what I want everybody who's listening to just pause and quiet your amygdala and your, like, is that you're talking about finding a solution, because both sides, and it always bothers me to like have this side thing, but both sides don't have a workable solution. I know for me as a mom and as a humanitarian, I would like to have a solution, because it also is incredibly upsetting to me to have people call me or tell me about friends of theirs that were in court.
Oh yeah, I saw kids that were zip tied in court the other day, and I'm like, it's so unnecessary. I'm with you. I am 100% with you. I'm just saying we can't scream a wall is racist.
Right. I get it.
It doesn't, that's not going to work. Like, we have to have a plan, and we have to defund the cartels, like not the police, not the cartels. Like, let that money be flowing into our government. Let that money take away some of the debt that we're putting onto our children.
And that's a whole nother show with you to talk about that, because that is quite the undertaking. I'm so grateful that you spent this much time here with us and that you wrote this book. Again, I encourage everyone, pre-order. The information will be in the show notes. Debunked by Nature. Follow Mollie on Instagram and really take into your heart what she's sharing. And let's have a conversation. I mean, one of the things that I appreciate about you, Mollie, since I've known you, is you are open to having a conversation.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what's missing so much. I saw something on, I see these things on social media, and I see people making these declarations, and I'm like, did you research that? Did you go and find out, is that really happening, what you're talking about? Or is that just fear and anger and hatred of whatever you've bought into on either quote unquote side of the aisle?
And we have to stop that. I mean,
yes.
I saw the other day I was at Camp Mystic and I made a video, and someone said all those girls' parents voted for Trump. And I thought to myself, like, these are 7 and 6 and 8-year-old girls that were swept away, and in the most scary thing that's ever happened to them before they died. And why does that matter? And then we were feeding, volunteers and everything. And someone was saying, thank you so much, Mollie, for what you're doing. I sent a little donation, and someone posted, Mollie voted for Trump. Are you sure you want to praise her? And wow. I have also seen on the other side, Epoch Times did a 1-hour special about me when I was still in California. And the comments underneath it were like, she's from California. She's obviously a libtard. She deserves for her restaurants to be closing down. She voted for all that. Blah, 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 blah. So I've gotten it from both sides. And I want to say that it's not just those are just personal things that happen on Instagram or on social media. But I've seen there's a family that flew on an airplane the other day, and the mom was taking a picture of her kid like riding the tricycle around the plane, and they got on the plane and the whole family died. And people wrote that she voted for Trump and that's what she deserves. And they put up pictures of her with a Make America Healthy Again or Make America Great Again hat. I don't remember. But that kind of where we have lost our humanity, like where whether it's my family having to pick up our whole life and move because of the bureaucracy in California, or me, I'm feeding the volunteers and these men are out here searching for bodies, or these girls are dying or this family's dying. And all we can say is like, California, bad, dumb, voted for MAGA, bad, dumb. That's not a world I want to live in. I want to live in a world where I can disagree with you and you can disagree with me and we can still have love be present. Mm-hmm. I want to be excellent at agreeing with people I don't love and loving people that I don't agree with, because I think that that's important. I think it's important that we can have that love between people that we don't agree with. And I think we have to be able to listen to someone that we don't like. I don't like anything this person stands for. But when they say something that makes sense, that is truth, that cuts through the room with that kind of sincerity, we can say, oh, I hear that and I get that and I can see that and I can agree with that. And that's what I want to be in the world. I want to be seeking truth and being open for the dialogue and the conversation, and not thinking the older I get, the less I know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm with you. I mean, I think I've accumulated a certain level of wisdom and knowledge, along with some judgments and opinions, and that's what I get to compost.
Yeah.
That's what I get to question.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Mollie. What a powerful conversation. And so if they purchase it by a particular date, they get $50 off?
No, $5. It's only $25. So $5 off if you buy it now, until the end of September, mid to the end of September is a pre-order. And then it comes out on September 25th. And if you order it pre-order, you're going to get it a week before everybody else as well. And we're having a Food is Medicine conference that same last weekend of September on the ranch. And it's going to be epic. We're having Courtney Swan, Misha Tate, Will Harris, Logan Duvall, AJ Richards, all these, the Meat Mafia guys, Brian Sanders from Food Lies and the Sapien Center. I mean, so many, Peter Blick from the Roots and Carbon Cowboys. I mean, just epic weekend of classes in butchery, in making sourdough bread, and then lectures and retreat vibes. And so anybody that buys the 3-day weekend ticket to that gets my book for free. And we're going to have my party that Saturday night. So we're going to have a little gathering that night and hors d'oeuvres and book signing on the Saturday night of the conference. And everybody's going to get a free book that night. So that is a fun little thing, but you can order it anytime on Amazon or on my publisher's website, Acres USA. And I would be so honored if you would do that. And if people are interested in doing a book club or anything like that, and you want to get a volume, we can set that up where I can do a Zoom book club with your group, and we can talk, each week or every couple weeks, figure it out and talk about the different chapters and what people are realizing. And there's also going to be a workbook. So that'll be on my website. So if you get the book and you love it and you're like, I want to dive deeper into these insights for myself, I have a workbook that's associated with each chapter for you to do the questioning of your own beliefs inside of this ideas. And so that is a fun thing. The workbook could be done within the book club if we want to, but I'm available for all of that. And I really want to connect with people in the world. I want to hear what people think. I wrote this in a silo in the dark in my living room at 4 a.m. So
in your breastfeeding chair.
In my breastfeeding chair. And I've been breastfeeding for almost 11 years. December will be 11 years straight.
Wow.
Because I had kids back to back to back. I'm trying to wean my youngest right now. She's 2, and I'm going to go to DC to work, to promote the book this Monday and Tuesday. It'll be the first time I've ever left my children. In 11 years, I've never been away from my children, not one night.
Wow.
And so this will be the first time I'm away from them in 11 years.
It's going to be a big deal.
Or 10.5 years.
It'll be a big deal. You'll be okay. It'll be a big deal.
But I would love to connect with people out there. I wrote this in a silo, and I'm just starting to get feedback and hearing what it sparked in other people. And I'm excited to be in this conversation in the greater community. And I just want to invite people to come to Food is Medicine, come to Sovereignty Ranch, or go to our website and see. Maybe you want to get tallow balm for your face, or you want to order some meat, or
learn why tallow is important.
And learn why tallow is important. So yes. I would love to engage with you, whether it's on social media or through email on my website. I'm excited to be in these conversations. And even if you're super mad, if you heard me talk today and you said, this woman is wrong.
I hate what you said.
I hate when you said.
I love what you said.
At you, and you let him. Yeah, I am here for all of it. And I'm grateful to be on this planet at the same time as all of you guys, walking this interesting path that we are on of awakening and awakening others.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure. So stick around. And everyone, thank you for being here. I welcome all of your responses. Just as Mollie spoke about, please let us know how you felt, what you thought, what you liked, what brought up stuff for you. And remember, until the next time that we meet, that you are powerful beyond measure, love beyond description, and a force for good in the world. So remember who you are, remember your true nature, and go forth and spread the love. I will see you at the next Awakened Mother show. Bye for now.